Could you imagine if all of this happened?
I would be very impressed.
Quit my job and become a psychic.
I was going to say, I started telling fortunes here.
Welcome back to this week's Motorsport Podcast. I'm Carrie.
And I'm Mike.
And we are here to talk about the British Grand Prix.
And Nico Hülkenberg.
The star of the show. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can't talk about this race and not address the huge accomplishment for Nico.
It is 239 starts.
Okay.
Without a podium.
But we do need to recognize we both recommended he retire this year.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, good for him for having a goal and seeing it through.
Absolutely. I've always been very critical of Nico. I will fully admit that.
Yeah, you never really liked him.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
And not for any particular, not that I think he's a bad person or... I just didn't think he was...
You were like, move on.
As strong of a driver. Yes, I thought there was better drivers out there that no longer have seats
Valtteri.
that I preferred. Yeah. Exactly. But one thing I liked about what he said after the race is he said, I knew it was going to come. Mm-hmm. It was just a matter of time. I always believed in myself.
Which
and
is, it's
I was
interesting.
like, oh man, my heart grew 3 sizes.
But like, okay, so I have some thoughts. So I think it's incredible for him. And I think it actually is like a really incredible message for all F1 generations to come, that you might not get that instant success. Like Oscar has had fairly immediate success.
Yes, you're right.
And I think this is probably, well, I think it's the longest without a podium. But I think it really goes to show, like, if you kind of stick with it and if you can stick with it, because like Nico left F1 and came back.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever thought, so he's obviously a talented driver. Like his career before F1, he was talented.
Yeah.
He is talented. I thought he had a mental block, which I feel like I would stand behind.
Might have.
He probably did at some point.
And I think back in the Renault days, I would say that there definitely was, because there were some times there where there were sort of freak races like this, where there were opportunities, and he would spin on the last lap or like a second. It's happened several times to him,
right? Where he
he makes an error,
like kind of like Lando.
Yeah, but to less. I mean, Lando's going for the victory.
Yeah, no, but like Lando, I don't want to say it's like self-sabotage, but it's like all of a sudden it's like they overthink it.
Yes.
And it falls apart. But I think what I was so impressed and like grateful for it turned, I guess it came about the way that it did, was that he went from 19th to 3rd.
Right.
So like he earned it. It wasn't like oops, I ended up on the podium. He earned it. Whether it was like strategy, whether it was just
everything.
his
It was
drive,
a combination, right?
It was a lot of things coming together, which I don't think that team isn't known for.
They really aren't. But Sauber made the right strategic decisions to put him in a position where he could, by some miracle, if he could hold on, get a podium. Yeah. And he was able to do it. Yeah. Aston Martin did the exact same thing. Yeah. Lance was in the exact same position where he could, if he could have podium. He could have podium too, right?
And that's a better car.
Exactly. Like the place was there. The power was there. Yeah. They were both in a position where they could have both had freak podiums, which Lance has had 3 of them. Right? Yeah. He's not a stranger to the freak podium where something weird goes on. Yeah. And he all of a sudden finds himself on a podium, right?
Yeah. Or is it like that car isn't that good, Aston Martin, And Fernando's just like kind of like a bit of a Max, where it's like he's driving beyond
outperforming the car. Yeah. Lance's comments after the race, he was talking to his engineer over the radio saying, oh, you know, his engineer's like, great job, P7, amazing. And Lance says, this is the worst piece of shit I've ever driven.
Ooh.
To his engineer after finishing 7th.
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of recommend he moves on.
Right?
Yeah, I think P7 is...
a P7 for Lance.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like he's not, I don't want to say deserving of it, but I feel like...
He's not.
Yeah, like it's... for him to think that he was going to keep that podium is insane.
Yeah. But he was in the position to. But he couldn't handle it.
Yeah, but Nico is a much more strategic, tougher driver to overtake.
He was defending against Lewis Hamilton at Silverstone.
Yeah.
Which, that is no easy task.
No, and I mean, it was interesting because I felt like that car, like the Ferrari wasn't doing well, fired up, and then just kind of like started to fall away. Yeah,
it's interesting because he was doing so well in practice and the first couple of rounds of quali, and then Q3 didn't get it, you know.
Barely.
Like he fell away from leading, right? He was leading FP1, you know, in the top FP2, right? He had a very, very strong practice and initial qualifying. It wasn't the best in Q3, but
okay. Seriously though, because he was going to get P1 and it was like the last turn that he lost it. So I wouldn't say he fell away. It was like such small margins between all of them.
And with those small margins, I mean, Kimi Antonelli giving Max Verstappen a tow in Q3.
Right? Yeah.
Which
So I mean,
had he not had that,
like Lewis would have been what, P2?
P3.
Oh yeah, because he started P4. Oh, because it was Lando, right? It was Max, Oscar. No.
Yeah, Max, Lando, Oscar, Lewis.
No, he started 5th. So it was Max, Oscar, Lando, George.
Oh, George, right.
We forgot about George.
Yeah, just forgettable.
And it was not George's race.
No.
At all. You know who like had a very interesting race? And I saw this like graphic where it was like a photo, well not a photo, like a graphic of the Silverstone course.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see this? And it was like Charles course, and it was just like this red marker, and it was just like circles and going like way off. Because did you see when he went off? He went like off-roading. And he was like, woof, the water, like, I guess like water gushed into his visor and he couldn't see. It was so funny. I was like,
Charles with the water again.
I know, like, what's going on? But it was just like, he just all of a sudden drove off track and just like, it went like, it just totally wild. And he was just like, whoa, the water.
Oh my.
Yeah. And I loved it.
I mean, the number of spins in that race was wild.
So I was really excited in the very beginning.
Yeah.
The first few laps, I was like, this is going to be epic. And then, like, I'm not sure at what point I was like, this is just annoying. Because it was...
The number of times people were spinning out?
Well, no, that it was like safety car.
Oh, yeah.
Like yellow flag. Like, it was just a constant.
Yeah.
And I just felt like there was no flow. Like, it just... There was a good portion of the race where we just kept, like, it kept stopping and starting and stopping and starting and stopping and starting.
Yeah.
Which actually changed the result of the race because Oscar was penalized for braking too aggressively behind the safety car, and crybaby Max.
I mean, no matter how you slice it, he was robbed of that win.
Yeah.
Like, I was blown away when they came back with a 10-second penalty.
This is my whole argument.
Right?
They're so wildly inconsistent with their application of the rules.
Yeah.
Like
this was, like, he braked a little bit under safety car. There was no damage, no risk of damage because Max was to the side of him. He just pulled up a little bit ahead and braked, and they continued on. No change in positions, no problems, nothing.
Yeah.
And he gets a 10-second penalty.
That robbed him of the win.
They decided that Lando was going to win that race. They made the decision of who was going to win the race.
Yeah, totally.
And that is just ridiculous. Like, you're putting the same penalty for a slight braking with no danger and no risk as like major incidents where there's massive crashes, right? And it's ridiculous. Yeah. And even if you're not an Oscar fan, I think you think it's ridiculous, unless you're a massive Lando fan and you're thinking it was the most justified penalty in the world.
Yeah, I just think that it's just unfortunate. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, it didn't have to happen the way that it happened.
No.
And my conspiracy theorist part was like, is it because they're trying not to have Oscar have a runaway with the championship? They're trying to keep Max still close enough to that championship.
Yeah, keep the storyline of a fight between the two McLarens for the championship. Also, the storyline of Lando winning his home race in front of all those fans.
Stupid,
right?
Not the fans are not stupid,
but that's a very real possibility that someone is orchestrating this. Whether it's a certain FIA president, whether it's...
It felt very reminiscent of, and I hate like that we bring this up all the time, but 2021.
Yeah.
It felt like that. And so I had a bunch of thoughts. Aside from like the conspiracy theorist. Okay. I was like, you saw the reports where they were talking about, because like the world is abuzz that Max is going to leave.
Yes.
Red Bull to go to Mercedes, which obviously leaves Christian Horner needing a driver.
Yeah.
Because Yuki's not going to cut it. And he was asked, who does he want? And he said, Oscar Piastri.
Mm-hmm.
So does this move of his team not swapping them, which I get, it would have been
them deciding who.
It wouldn't have been fair to Lando. No. As much as I don't like Lando, it wouldn't have been fair to swap the positions back.
No, it would have,
because Lando had nothing to do with
it.
But his team not fighting it and letting it go through, robbing him of that victory and potentially the world title at the end of the year, depending on how the rest of this goes.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
Is that just going to push him into the arms of Christian Horner? Because everybody knows that contracts, you can break them. It does.
Yeah.
You just need a good enough lawyer.
Well, or just enough money.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and Red Bull has plenty of.
Exactly. They've got the money.
Yeah. So is that...
I like where your conspiracy theories are going.
Well, because Mark Webber was like losing his shit.
Of course he was.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
So is that just like...
He's probably on the phone with Christian Horner right now being like, you need to step in here and make us an offer.
And was Christian Horner like, was not that like, I mean, Max does his own thing.
Yeah.
But Christian Horner was probably like, yeah, this is like the best scenario because they're getting a penalty. It's better for us. And it's also better for potentially signing Oscar down the road because his team's not backing him. I like
this. I like the long game, like the long play.
I know. Yeah.
This is chess. This ain't checkers.
Right? But that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, like you have just pushed him. And like, so like F1 TV was asking, I think it was F1 TV, was asking Zach Brown about, that being in the news.
Yeah.
And he was like, I think it's interesting because, if you ask one of our drivers who they're driving for next year,
their answer is McLaren.
Their answer is McLaren. And it's like, is it now? Is it?
Yeah. I mean, if you're Oscar, you're probably not too happy.
No, I mean, that team has a bit of a history last year and this year with prioritizing Lando.
Yeah.
And if he went to Red Bull, it would not even be a question.
Well, that's exactly it. It would be like the way it is now with Max.
Mm-hmm.
It's second driver who?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who it is.
Don't give a shit.
Cycle through anybody.
Yeah. But it's not. I thought it was just very fascinating because it wasn't like, oh, we're going to pull up Isaac Hadjar.
Yeah.
Any of this, Liam Lawson.
No, like he's looking exterior.
Oscar. Because if you're Mark Webber, you're working both angles.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it could also be that just Christian Horner knows how good Oscar Piastri is, and he's hoping, right? He would wish to have him.
No.
Which is what some say, is the Toto conversation, is that there's no chance of getting Max, and he just wishes he could have Max. I think there's some truth to the rumors.
Oh, absolutely.
I've never seen this many rumors this consistent.
It's constant. It's absolutely constant.
Yeah.
And Max isn't denying it.
No.
He's not happy with Red Bull.
Yeah. It is such a burn, though, because the conversation isn't at all about which Mercedes seat he would take. It's he would take George's.
I know.
Right? There's not even a talk about it being Kimi's seat.
No.
It is he would replace George, who is having the best season he's ever had.
Well, I feel like if you don't, because Toto already feels like he lost Max once. You don't have a Kimi who's had a standout season so far in his first year. I don't think you just okay, we're done with you, Kimi.
Yeah.
That would just be silly.
Well, yeah, you don't pass up people like Carlos, or you don't bench Valtteri Bottas in favor of Kimi without backing him truly.
Yeah.
Right?
And they've said this year, or they don't, it's not irrelevant to them, but it's his learning year. They didn't have high expectations performance-wise. So I think that's interesting. And so then if Mr. Russell is out of a seat, where does he go? Does he go to Cadillac?
That'd be a good pickup for Cadillac.
Could you imagine if George and Valtteri were the team at Cadillac?
I would love to see it, because I would love to prove our theory that Valtteri is the superior driver.
Oh, against him, yeah.
And I would think that Valtteri would win. I should say win. Would beat George.
I was going to say, you have high hopes for Cadillac.
He would beat George in head-to-head.
Yeah.
And all the smack George talked a couple years ago. I guess more than a couple years ago now.
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. It's still, it's like it was yesterday.
I know.
But I would like to see that. So that'd be very interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a strong lineup, though. If Cadillac got a George Russell and a Valtteri Bottas, that is proven race winners, a lot of experience. Mm-hmm. That would be a very solid pairing.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming in, you'd have.
And then what does Zach do?
I don't know. If that scenario were to play out, I think he would go rookie. I think he would find another young hotshot.
So I have a theory.
That lay it on me.
Gabriel Portoletto.
Yeah.
I think that's where he'd go.
You think so, eh?
I do. I have some reasons for this theory.
Okay. He's F2 champion.
Yes, and he's managed by Fernando Alonso.
Right.
And who did Alonso used to drive for?
Alonso's driven for basically every team.
But so I'm referencing McLaren. Yeah, I think this is where. Could you imagine if all of this happened? I would be
very impressed.
Quit my job and become a psychic.
I was going to say, I start telling fortunes here.
But yeah, I think there are going to be major shakeups in 2026.
Yeah.
Not just the regulations and all of that. I think there's going to be
massive driver
changes.
Ooh.
And it's going to come from the teams where you don't expect it. Well, you would expect it if you paid attention.
And if you've got a bit of a tinfoil hat.
Yeah, which I do.
Yeah. But that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah, I think McLaren is wrapping their arms around the wrong driver.
Yeah.
And I think that Zach has learned nothing from the Lewis Nico era. Which if anyone has listened to Toto at all, he's like, that backfired.
Well, yeah.
Like, he's like, I would not want to go through that ever again. And that's what you're doing with Lando and Oscar. The end.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder what would be the first domino to fall.
Ooh, the first domino. I think. Well, I mean, Max really has to go first, because you're not going to just like. He has a contract.
He's the catalyst.
Yeah.
Is if he leaves Red Bull, that's what really
triggers
everything, and
yeah,
that's when the real crazy silly season would start.
Well, and like Christian Horner, if he wants to keep his job, he has to sign the biggest name.
Oh yeah, he needs the biggest talent.
And who's the biggest name?
Yeah, it's Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't lose Max.
No.
And
not replace
him with a world championship contender.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's no way he'd be able to keep his job.
Yeah.
He's on thin ice all the time anyways, right? I think.
Yeah.
At least in the last couple of years, he's been on thin ice.
But if you brought in an Oscar,
yeah,
who I think has more of like a team player attitude, he could spin it in a way that, like, you know, he is potentially going to be a world champion, who could help with some of the development drivers.
Yes.
I can't wait for all this to happen.
We'll see.
Right?
We should write this down so that we can track.
Well, we've recorded
which
this.
Predictions. Yes. there's evidence.
Yeah. But I do think, like, I think Max has proven that he's really not super happy with Red Bull anymore.
No.
I'm not sure if I talked about this last podcast, or if I just was thinking about it, or if I actually told you. I wouldn't be surprised if Max stayed around for 2026 in Red Bull, just to see who has the strongest car.
Yeah, see which team messes with the rule changes the best, and see who's got potential. Yeah, I could see that.
But I think he's also a reactive person, so if he's already kind of just frustrated and one foot out the door, and Toto pays him enough.
Yeah, and I mean, he might also see very, very limited, like from what I've read, he has seen very poor performance in the simulator for the 2026 engine and car.
Well, and the rumors were that Mercedes is just waiting for board approval.
Yeah, I read the same thing.
So
I don't know who is giving us these scoops. I feel like we need Ralph Schumacher to chime in.
What has he said? He said nothing.
He hasn't said anything.
He was everywhere like a few weeks ago,
and he was always right.
Silent.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's just waiting for confirmation.
But he knows Joss. Ralph.
I don't know if he does or not.
Didn't they race at the same time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway. Those are my theories.
I like them.
Kind of unrelated to this race.
That's okay, though.
This race was a lot, though. Like, it was, I feel like, an emotional roller coaster ride. I had high hopes for Lewis for a second. I was so happy for Nico. If Lewis couldn't get there, I was happy that it was Nico.
Yeah.
Because, like, I just felt like he was so deserving of it. I would not have felt the same way if it was Lance.
No. Had it been Lance, would have been screaming at the TV.
Yeah.
You know, hoping Lewis to get by.
But I was so stressed because I was like, Nico, do not fuck this up.
Yeah.
You are so close. And it's hard too because, like, Lewis wasn't that far behind.
No, he got very close.
So it's not like he couldn't just like cruise.
Yeah.
He had to be alert.
He had to defend against Lewis at Silverstone.
Yeah.
He deserved, as you said, he deserved it 100%. It was not just...
It was earned.
A luck. It was not just a strategy call. It was his driving to defend that position that strategy got him into.
Yeah.
And he was able to do it.
And K-Mag was there. Are they besties? Because they used to not like each other.
Yeah, they used to dislike each other, I would say.
And then he was there, and I was like, and because he's still working with Haas.
I think last year at Haas, they probably became buddies.
Yeah.
And
I was pretty excited for that.
He's supporting his bro.
And did you see that Sauber didn't have enough champagne? So Aston Martin and Mercedes gave them champagne.
Yeah.
So, like, that was so sweet. I just felt like, when was the last time everyone came together
That's
to
everybody.
celebrate?
Everybody.
Except for, did you see the podium?
Yes. It angered me.
Yeah. It angered a lot of people. There's a lot of chatter about it.
It was very rude of the McLaren team.
Yeah, it was weird.
You know what it was? It was disappointing.
It was really disappointing.
As a father, if that's my kid up there, I am disappointed in your behavior.
Right? Well, I mean, I was not at all surprised by Lando.
But Oscar, he didn't.
Oscar was just pissed.
Yeah.
And he had already, he had congratulated him.
Yes.
Like, and he had said that was basically like the highlight on when he was interviewed.
He did.
But
Yes.
Still, I was just like so disappointed because, and I've seen the clips and stuff. Although, okay, had Max won the race, he would have celebrated hard with Nico.
Oh, yes.
And had a lot of other people been up there, they would have definitely celebrated with him.
Yeah.
Had Max had what happened to Oscar happened to Max,
It might have been the same scenario where he's not celebrating.
He would have been equally just pissed.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was disappointing because it's like he's waited so long for this. It's not like it's just Kimmy where it's like he's just starting and it's whatever.
Yeah.
Like I was disappointed, but like I don't know. I hope he gets another one.
Yeah. Did you hear that Max invited to fly him back on his private jet and party with him?
No, that makes my heart happy though.
Yeah. So apparently they flew from Silverstone they were both going back to Monaco. But I believe my understanding is they made a stopover and partied.
Okay. So this is for Jenny, friend and listener of the podcast. If Max joins Mercedes, I think I might be like the biggest Max fan. Because as much as he has pissed me off, he has started to like redeem. So like if he joins Mercedes, like I'm there for it. It's already my team.
Yep.
I'm there.
You're jumping in both feet.
I am. Yeah. I'll wear the orange shirts.
Oh man.
I will set off the orange smoke cannons. Whatever those things are called.
Max Verstappen will be on your playlist. That'll be your new ringtone.
It will be. Said it here.
Oh, wow.
You can hold me accountable. I mean, I'm still obviously going to be obsessed with Lewis.
Yeah.
That will never change. If Valtteri comes back, like move over everybody. Oscar, I love Oscar, but like if he goes to Red Bull, I think my hatred for Christian Horner outweighs that of Max.
Oh.
It does. It absolutely does.
Max has done some things that is.
Yeah.
You're making it's making him sweet. You're sweet on him.
I wouldn't say sweet on him, but I have seen a more human side of Max.
Yeah. Like,
I think it was, the homeless thing where he built all those houses or donated. Well, he didn't build them. He donated money for that. The Nico thing.
Yeah.
Like, there have been like little bits here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a person. Like, I can't expect every response to be perfect. I still do not condone
some of his driving.
Yes. And how he drove over Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Lewis and Valtteri will always be my top, but
yeah,
I might have to purchase the 33 hat that has the Mercedes logo.
He'll come up with some fire merch.
Yeah. Which is seriously lacking on the Ferrari side.
They had a special hat this weekend for Lewis, but so far,
where's the black on black?
I don't know. That's
opportunity. They're sleeping on this opportunity.
Yeah, just black on black Ferrari. They need to get it done because it'll look good.
Yeah, agree.
And I haven't found any official stuff that is like that. And
you know what? It's because we both don't like the color red.
Yeah.
That's the real problem.
That's the rub, yeah.
If we liked red, we'd be set.
I know. I do not like
But it's like red and yellow.
Yeah.
And I don't really like either one of those colors. So, no.
Yeah.
It's a no for me.
It's a no for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's throw a little congratulations to Pierre Gasly.
What did he do?
Pull out a 6th.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
6th.
Gasly finished 6th in an Alpine.
Are we sure about that?
6th. Finished 6th.
I was so, like, overconsumed by the Nico thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even really, But did you hear him congratulate Nico over the radio? I heard this replay afterwards.
Everybody did. Absolutely everybody.
Alex Albon.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Max cruised by, like, pumping his fist, celebrating with him.
Yeah.
Like, every single driver was like, this is amazing. You deserve it so much.
If I'm being totally honest, I thought George Russell retired from the race. I'm not even joking. I'm surprised to see he finished 10th. I just for some reason thought, because there was, Kimi retired.
Yeah, Kimi retired.
But for some reason I thought George did too.
No, Kimi got hit from behind.
And Charles finished second last.
Yeah, that was a tough one for Charles. And that, like, he's got to be real mad at Ferrari.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing. I love Charles. And, like, it was just one of those weekends where everything went wrong for him.
It really did.
And I felt so bad for him.
Yeah.
But it was funny at the same time.
I know.
Not because, like, I wish ill will on him. Like, I really wanted him to do well. But once it started going poorly for him.
The fact that it just kept getting worse and worse.
And he just has the most epic reactions. Like, I just love his reactions to everything because he's always like, oh, no. And he didn't disappoint.
Yeah.
And when it was like, oh, there's Charles off-roading. I just loved it. I loved every moment of it. I'm so sorry, Charles. Yeah, it was. I feel like most of those drivers were probably so relieved when that race finished because it was like,
oh yeah,
at any moment it could have gone in any direction.
I think almost every driver had a spin out at some point in that race, other than I think Lando, Oscar, and probably Nico.
Well, we didn't talk about it when Max, or maybe we did, but I was still so focused on my Oscar theory. When after he overshot Oscar, he had the safety car, and then he spun out.
Just pulls a 360, keeps going.
It was like karma just came in and, like, just slapped him in the face. Because it was so immediately right after that. I loved it. I love when you just see those things happen.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Max, should have kept your mouth shut.
Should have kept your mouth shut.
Mm-hmm. But you didn't.
Yeah.
And Ollie Behrman, I'm surprised. Like, what a wild race it was when Ollie Behrman still managed to finish 11th, and he had the synchronized spin with Esteban Ocon.
Yeah, that was nice to see the synchronized spinning.
Yeah.
And I think the last time we saw that was also a Haas.
Poor Gene Haas.
Yeah.
But really, honestly, it was a crazy race.
Yeah.
I was a little relieved when it was over because I was like, I can't take this anymore. I can't take it. Because I also thought at any moment it's going to be red flagged.
It could have happened at any time.
Right?
Absolutely. There could have been, like, when it was really coming down.
Oh, yeah. I thought for sure.
I was expecting someone to crash, red flag.
Yeah.
Wait for 45 minutes.
Yeah. Who was it who crashed into Kimi?
I don't remember.
Was it Liam Lawson? Or do I just blame him for everything?
I mean, it's a fair bet. I don't know if it was, but he crashed into somebody, so.
Yeah. Which I understand because there was, like, no visibility.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't really fault him on a crash in this one.
No, and you're in an F1 car. It's not like you can drive so slow like you would on, like, a normal street when there's no visibility. Like, you kind of just have to hope there's no car there.
Well, yeah, like, the amount of spray coming off these cars
is
like,
insane.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the FIA to penalize Lando Norris for his post-race interview.
What did he say?
When he said, "Oh yeah, I was out in front." He said, just don't fuck it up. And then Jenson Button apologized for him, and then he apologized to the camera. But where's his penalty?
Right?
Like, is he going to get a $10,000 fine? Forced to do community service?
No, but if it was Max, you better believe they would.
Exactly.
This is why, okay, well, obviously I've just admitted I'm a Max fan now, but it's so unfair.
It's
so unfair.
It's the British driver bias. There's been a lot of talk about this, that British drivers get more favorable treatment than any other driver. And this is what it looks like, because Lando seems to be getting some treatment that is different from others.
Oh, absolutely. It's different.
Yeah.
No, and it's it's so disappointing. Yeah. I just again, I mean, I wouldn't say here to volunteer my services because you'd have to pay me a lot of money, but I think I'd make an excellent FIA president.
Yeah.
I would eliminate all of this nonsense.
Yeah.
Be gone. Don't care where you're from. Don't care who you are. Don't care who you drive for. Them's the rules. We're going to stick by them.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I'd like to see is back in the 80s, you had qualifying with 30 drivers, 35, 36 drivers. It would be interesting to see that again, where you have these
where they don't make
other teams that, because perhaps they do in one weekend, right? They have a freak qualifying.
Yeah, right? I don't know.
I think that'd be exciting to see. So you have more opportunity for more teams, not necessarily in the Grand Prix, but there's potential for them to get into it.
Yeah.
But I know that's a lot of work and a lot of...
Yeah, can you imagine the cost of
It would be significant.
Yeah, it's probably why it was
Yeah, that's why it was scrapped,
yeah.
But...
I just think that it should be whatever the 10, 11, 12 best teams.
Yeah.
Not a Haas where they're nickel and diming things. I think it should be you are ready to spend the money, and if you're not, then that's it.
Yeah.
Because those teams, I think, are to the detriment of the sport, because you're kind of okay, well, it should be I do think this is probably one of the more memorable seasons because the gaps are so close.
Mm-hmm.
So even in the bottom teams, qualifying is still so close.
Yeah, it is. It's tighter than it's ever been.
Yeah. So I think that's where it should go. It shouldn't be I like when you don't know who's going to win.
Yeah.
You could guess, but
Well, when you're FIA president, you can make those rules.
I'll make so many changes.
So many rules. So many rules.
If your name is Christian Horner, you are not allowed to participate. No, I'm just kidding. I think you have to be fair. If you are going... I just don't... I think what happened to Oscar wasn't fair. I don't think that was right. And I think there have been a lot of recent penalties in this season where it's not fair.
Yeah, and a lot of people are questioning it, and it just opens up the conversation of legitimacy of the stewards and what they're doing.
You're not able to properly defend... I guess what also pisses me off is you're not able to properly defend yourself during the... Sometimes you are, I guess, during the course of a race, but sometimes you're not.
Yeah.
Belgian Grand Prix. That's what's next, right?
Yeah, we got a couple weeks.
What are your predictions? We're looking at July 27th.
Yeah, in reality, McLaren's going to be fast, but I think Ferrari have taken a step forward. I think we're going to see the Ferraris battling the McLarens.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think you'll see a mix of Ferraris and McLarens on the podium. I'm going to say Oscar's going to win, but I'm going to say Lewis is going to get on the podium. And then whoever else is up there.
Charles?
Maybe.
I would love to see an Oscar Lewis Charles podium. And Lando DNF. Or, maybe just 19th.
Ooh. Just a real tough race.
Yeah. Yeah, you finished the race, but not well. I do like, I love Spa. I think it's a good race.
Yeah.
Often the weather can be
very tricky.
Yeah, very tricky. So it could be interesting.
Yeah.
And then is it the summer break?
It's a great question.
Hungary, no. Dutch. Wait, Hungary. So, no, 2 more.
Monza's the first one back, right?
No, Dutch.
After the break? Dutch's first one back after the summer break? Oh, okay.
So we've got 2 more before summer break.
Okay.
And then...
I think summer break is when we're going to hear some...
All of my things.
All the stuff's going to go
Can you imagine if every single one of my predictions came true?
I really hope so. I really hope so. Not just for the mad changes and the wildness of what will happen in F1, but also just to see you become a diehard Max fan. I would love to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know what? He's talented.
Yeah.
I'm not going to discredit that at all. And he is, I think, redeeming himself. I mean, he's also grown a lot, right? Like he's older. He's not a teenager.
Exactly. He's not the driver he was in 2016, 17, 18. 19,
20, 21, 22, 23, half of 24. Yeah, I think I think, like, I mean, maybe it has to do with becoming a father, right?
Yeah,
so
maybe.
I think he's changed. I think it's for the positive. I don't think he's ever going to be like the Lewis humanitarian type person, but I don't require that as part of my...
He's building houses.
That is true.
So he's doing it.
But it's not like I need the Oscar, the Lewis, like the nice people.
No, it's okay to be a bit of a wild card.
Yeah.
Just don't crash into Lewis or Valtteri.
Yeah. And if you do, say sorry.
That's right.
All right. Is that it?
That's everything.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening to this week's Motorsport podcast. We will be back next week with a special episode on a historic race, or if some of these predictions come through early, you better believe we are going to be here with the breaking news.
Oh, yeah.
Pulling the sound clips of me predicting this.
Yeah. We'll be all over it.
I will be singing this from the rooftops. Adios. Motorsport Podcast is a Vorbeck Media production. Follow us on Instagram at Motorsport Pod. You can listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or our YouTube page, Motorsport Pod. Bye.